Okay. Dear Mr. Bolaji, I fear that I am falling out of love with art. I'm finding it super hard to survive, and the pressure of trying to get the right attention from people to like my art and pay bills is becoming too much. The last time I could create freely was at art school. I miss the community I had there and the sense of possibility. We were always staying creative. Now I just can't find the time to do any art. You seem to stay productive and to be loving what you do. What would you do if you were in my position? Thank you very much, Leon. Okay. Okay, hi Leon, thank you for sharing that. I think this is a really common problem, and I don't say that to take anything away from you. I kind of just say that to say that you are definitely not alone. It's a question that I've had to ask myself anyway over the years, and one that I know that many artists, especially artists who have just left art school, deal with. And actually not just artists, I think people whose situation has changed. And that's something that's very clear to me, that your circumstances have changed. So you started saying that you are worried that you are falling out of love with art. So I would need to confirm a few things, okay? And that being, what does being in love with art mean to you if you're worried of falling out of love, okay? That's an important question. Why is that an important question? Because then you are able to navigate better maybe what has changed. From what you described to me, you said that when you were at art school, several things were there which you don't have now, and that's community, and also the ability to create freely. And something that you're struggling with right now are paying bills, the pressures of life. Something that I would imagine from what you shared was very different than when you were at art school. So what would I do? Well, I think, again, questions are really important for me, because you need to establish what's actually true for yourself. I would hate for you to feel that you even have to fall out of love for art, and I'll explain why I'm phrasing it like that. If your circumstances have changed and you are saying that when you were at art school you didn't have to worry about paying bills like you have to do now, but now because you've left art school and you're kind of going to face the real world, you don't have that same space. So your environment has changed. And if your environment has changed, the question is it your environment that has changed, or you intrinsically falling out of love with art? So that's why I said it's important for you to establish, what does being in love with art mean for you? Is it being able to create without pressure? Is it creating and needing people to like you, to kind of affirm our love for what we do? Because you said the pressures of getting people to have attention on what you do. So something that artists struggle with, especially when they've been at art school, is at art school you have a particular curriculum. You've got teachers maybe who are working with you one-on-one, or maybe you don't have that and they just provide all this space. You have other artists around you that you can bounce off of. You are constantly surrounded by creativity, right? And then you leave art school, and then you realize that you're surrounded by people who have different interests. You may not have a space like you used to have a space. And so now you're going back to the thing that you were doing every single day, and either you're in a different space, you don't have those people around you, and so that can affect your mental state. So what I would do for myself is saying, is it being in love with art, or is my issue my love I have for art, or is it a survival issue? And that means then you have to ask yourself, what does it mean to survive as an artist? That's a really crucial question, because do you want to make art as a means to survive, or do you want to make art because you just want to make art? And I know that's kind of difficult if you're saying, well, I just want to make art, but I at the same time want to make money from it so that you can live and so that you can feed your practice. But the minute any of us get into this space of commerce, by commerce I mean, like selling, if you don't want to use the word selling, or sharing your work, and there's an exchange of value, then you have to realize that you're no longer at art school where there was only 80 or 150 of you doing that. You're now in the world where there's 1,000 people, hundreds of thousands of people even, trying to get people's attention and trying to get people to buy into what they're doing. That's a very different beast. And to some extent, to a large extent, that has nothing to do with my personal one-on-one relationship I have when I'm back in my bedroom or wherever, painting or drawing or, making film or whatever. This is a completely different beast in relation to having an exchange of value, getting people's attention, and allowing yourself to be sustained by that. And so the conversation that I think a lot of art schools need to have, or one needs to have with oneself, is, what does it mean to survive as an artist? And you need to sort of like put this in compartments in your mind so that you don't get it mixed up and feel like it has to do with your intrinsic personal love for just the pure act of creating. What you're dealing with now is a completely different thing. So you have to understand how that operates. And that might mean accepting or saying to yourself, do I want my art to be involved in business? Because business means that you are now operating under a set of different kind of rules. So being consistent, marketing, selling, what's the word, sort of like, I deliberately don't want to immediately use the word branding because I know artists struggle with that, but another word you can use for branding is a reputation. What do people say about you? And that's rooted to how do people trust you? And trust is gained over time. And these are all things that every single business has to deal with. And that's effort and that's work. And so people go to school for that even, or some people already have these kind of instincts naturally. And if you don't, and you're an artist that kind of paints when you feel like you want to paint, or you're painting because you're not worried about whether someone's going to buy into it or not, and now you're in the real world, so to speak, and you're having all these other kind of pressures, you might mix the two up and think that now that has something to do with how good you are as an artist. Even the phrase good means something else completely different in a business space. Do you know what I mean? So it's important for you to establish what does being in love with art mean for you. That's the really important question. Have a conversation with yourself. Define what that means and then go from there. And don't be ashamed to accept the fact that if it's going to be something that's going to sustain you financially, then you're going to have an honest conversation with yourself about what does that look like? Does that mean getting involved with galleries? Does that mean having an art consultant? Does that mean working with particular spaces? You're the one who's allowed to define that, but then you have to realize it now needs structure. It now needs something to uphold it. And that takes that takes more knowledge and more time. And that may not, again, have anything to do with your pure love for doing something, okay? Let's not get to the point of thinking now you no longer love what you do. It's a survival issue, I'm thinking, rather than do I love art issue. I hope that makes sense. Thank you.